Hello friends, welcome to today's daily devotion. I'm Kerry Wood, pastor of the Goldston Methodist Church in Goldston, North Carolina. We are wrapping up this last week of the domino effect, this cascading experience of what God is doing in us that keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Today we're looking at chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. Hear now these words. Tychicus will tell you all the news about me. He is a dear brother, a faithful minister, and fellow servant in the Lord. I am sending him to you for the express purpose that you may know about our circumstances and that he may encourage your hearts. He is coming with Onesimus, our faithful and dear brother, who is one of you. They will tell you everything that is happening here. My fellow prisoner Aristarchus sends you his greetings, as does Mark, the cousin of Barnabas. You have received instructions about him. If he comes to you, welcome him. Jesus, who is called Justus, also sends you greetings. These are the only Jews among my co-workers for the kingdom of God, and they have proved a comfort to me. So as we come to the closing portion of this letter, I can't help but sense that most of the time we treat these personalized greetings the same way that we treat the closing credits after watching a movie. You know, they show the credits and they always start with the major stars that were in the show and the director and the producers, and then you get this long list of people who were part of making the movie happen. And sometimes the end credits will have so many names in it that you will have the closing music underscoring those lists of names going on for 4, 5, 10 plus minutes. How many of you take the time to pay attention to all those names, any of those names? We kind of do the same thing here with what Paul is doing, describing Tychicus, Onesimus, Aristarchus, Mark, Barnabas. Some of these names might be somewhat familiar to us, and others of them are like, huh? Who in the world is that? I don't even know how to pronounce that name. And so we don't pay attention. Well, we should. There's some pretty good extra-biblical evidence that Tychicus was one of those people who was part of the group of 70 that Jesus commissioned to go out and share the good news during Jesus' earthly ministry life. Yeah, Tychicus was one of those guys who knew Jesus. He could have been an original apostle. He could have been a name that we knew, just like Simon Peter and Andrew and Paul. But rather, Tychicus chose to be in the background, but doing powerfully important stuff. How do we know he did powerfully important stuff? Because Paul calls him out right here. Onesimus, you might have been familiar with him. He is the runaway slave who came to Paul, and Paul told him about Jesus, and Onesimus then went back to his previous owner. And that is the letter called Philemon that we have in the New Testament. Can't say it very well. Aristarchus, he was one of those people who volunteered to go into the prison to be with Paul. For you see, back in those days, anybody who wasn't a prisoner was free to come and go, and they were the people who then provided the care for those who were not able to come and go. So Paul, he's in prison, and because he's in prison, he gets no food, he gets no water, he gets no clothes, unless someone like Aristarchus brings those to him. Mark, you might know him from the Gospel according to Mark. Barnabas, you might know him from the book of Acts, and you might not have realized that there was a familial connection between Mark and Barnabas. And yet, here they are showing up, and there is a complete, amazing backstory to Mark that I just don't have time to dive into here. But if you're curious, go do some internet research, do some biblical research, and see just how amazing the fact that Mark is mentioned by Paul is. I could go on, but here's the main point I want to make. Are you on anybody's list of vital contributors to their lives? Are there folks on your list that are vital contributors to your life? There ought to be. We ought to be on somebody's list, and we should have a list of all those somebodies to be on ours. We need our own Tychicuses, our own Onesimuses, our own Aristarchuses, Marks, and Barnabases, because God puts them into our paths. And just like all of those hundreds and hundreds of names on a movie credit, their role was vital to make that movie happen. These people in your credits had a vital role. You should have a vital role in others. Let's call this domino the domino of care. And I'll see you tomorrow for Thanksgiving Day and our next daily devotion.